time. What are your thoughts?
I love it. You know, I'm gonna be honest. I got lost.
Yes,
And
it's easy to.
What's the big line out front for?
Well, there's a lot of shows that are here. Like people come.
They knew you were going to be in the studio.
The View,
Man.
Live with Kelly and Mark.
I tried to. I got in line to get in the door though, and then the lady came out. They're like, "No, you got to go on this side."
Maybe the line was for you.
You could have gotten Whoopi Goldberg's autograph, something like that, one way or another. We are rolling along here towards football season, and at the top of the hour, training camps open this week. So let's do opening statements. Hey, Hawk.
Yes.
Give me an opening statement on this Monday morning.
Quarterback Shedeur Sanders will be the Cleveland Browns starter by their Week 9 bye week. You heard it. Look, they got a lot of quarterbacks in that building, but I think that the voice from the fans is going to get louder and louder as the season goes on. I think we know who Kenny Pickett is. We know who Joe Flacco is. And I think Shedeur supplant Dylan Gabriel.
You were nodding along as he was saying that, Tannenbaum.
Start him sooner.
Sooner.
You have 2 first-round picks next year. You need to know what you have in Shedeur Sanders. He's a better prospect than Dylan Gabriel, their 3rd-round pick. Trade Kenny Pickett. Joe Flacco is your bridge quarterback. Let's see what we have in Shedeur, who's a very talented quarterback.
You agree? No, I like that. And I think he should start earlier. Obviously, you're going to start with the veteran to see what this team has. But as the season progresses, as you start to be more comfortable with Shedeur Sanders at practice and the way that he's handling himself in the building, he should become the starter because you need to know if he could be your guy going forward.
All right, speaking of rookie quarterbacks, Tannenbaum, give me an opening statement.
Jackson Dart will be starting by October 1st. I think even sooner.
That is very specific.
And he will save Brian Daboll's job. His 41 starts in college will give him the necessary experience to hit the ground running. I think he exceeds expectations, tamps the noise down with the Giants, and Brian Daboll returns in 2026.
Well, I think the first thing is they clearly had to like Jackson Dart above all the other quarterbacks in the draft outside of Cam Ward. And if there's something special there between Brian Daboll and Jackson Dart, I think you have to play him. You're not playing him just to save your job. You're playing him because if you believed in him enough to draft him, there has to be a way that he could spark this offense. They're going to have an excellent pass rush, and that will keep him in games. If Jackson Dart can make some plays, maybe Brian Daboll saves his job.
Their offensive line is healthy, and that's been a problem the last few years. They have Malik Neighbors, who, in the right circumstance, might be as good as any receiver in the NFL. Could you see Jackson Dart opening up some eyes this year?
I do think that could happen, right? Because also when you talk about Brian Daboll and saving his job, like, this is what this organization needs. They need hope. They need to be able to see a quarterback and say, hey, this is something we can build on. And without that, they probably will make a decision.
And also, too, like, let's not split them up, right? It has to be promising enough that they say, okay, let's let them build together. The guy he drafted, the guy who believed in him, and a coach that understands.
All right, stay in the division. RC, give me a prediction here. Give me an opening statement.
This is simple. The Dallas Cowboys are going to the playoffs. What? Like, I'm tired of people the whole off season. I know Stephen A. is going to have his cigar and his hat and all of those things. I think that they're a team who won 7 games last year, and that was without their starting quarterback, Dak Prescott. He says he feels healthier than ever. We know what George Pickens was in Pittsburgh, and now you add that to CeeDee Lamb and also Jake Ferguson at the tight end position while getting some veteran running backs with an offensive line that I believe should be improved this year.
Okay, well, you think they're going to the playoffs. As far as they're concerned, you're selling them short. Listen to Pro Bowl guard Tyler Smith, not shy about what he expects from Dallas this year.
Super Bowl champions. That's always the expectation. So, yeah.
You think that's a realistic goal?
I think it is a realistic goal because we can win the Super Bowl. Like, why not? Why can't we win? Do you think it's unrealistic?
Do you think the roster is in place to do that?
I think it is in place to do that, yes, sir.
Okay, so as you pointed out, I mean, the questions kept coming and he kept standing on it. But listen, we have heard Brian Schottenheimer say multiple times, that's our goal. We don't shy away from it. And look, it's everybody's goal, right? So there's nothing really wrong with saying it. It just sounds different coming out of Dallas because we micromanage literally everything they do, every word they say. But generally speaking, you guys were players. On July 20th, you think you're going to win the Super Bowl, right? And
Not everybody.
Not everybody?
That's a lie.
No.
That's a lie.
There are teams that they're on a 1-15 team. What did you guys think about July 20th?
I ain't gonna lie, I thought we were bringing it home. I thought I went to that season like, wait, to the Steelers, get a load of this, baby. Me and Brian Hartline are about to rip this place up.
But, okay, and I don't want to suggest that was delusional. But in Tyler Smith's case, there are a lot of reasons to have optimistic views. And we've gone over them. And with the Cowboys, so you know them like you know your own family. Dak Prescott is coming back healthy. They've got CeeDee Lamb. They made the huge acquisition of George Pickens. See, to me, that's what it all depends on. And here's the thing that makes me nervous. Mike T Tomlin has proven he can work with every kind of mercurial wide receiver, right? He's had all these wide receivers with unique personalities. Let's use that as sort of a catch-all phrase. And in each case, he worked with them and they played great. This is the first time he punted. He gave up on one, and that makes me a little bit nervous.
So, this is me telling you, right? Because I think that's a narrative that's been out about George Pickens. That's not why George Pickens is no longer in Pittsburgh.
Tell me.
When I think you saw a while back, right, there was an Instagram story where George Pickens, or a comment or something where he said, I asked to leave. I think that's more the story than what we're hearing or what people have built the narrative around people being quiet about why he's gone. George Pickens and Coach Tomlin had a relationship where Coach Tomlin told me, I'm willing to work with him and watch him grow because I'm willing to develop young men. That wasn't the problem with George Pickens. The problem with George Pickens and what he felt and what I think the team felt is you bring in a guy in DK Metcalf who, while I'm in my last season, who's exactly like me. We do the same thing. We are both deep ball catchers. We are both 50-50 guys. Whoever has the one-on-one matchup is going to get the ball. Now I want to go to somewhere different. I don't even know if it would have been the Dallas Cowboys, but put me in the space where I can shine in my last year. Put me in the space where there won't be a duplicate of me on the other side with the quarterback I know I could trust, because at that time he didn't know, or his team didn't know, or whatever it was, that Aaron Rodgers would be the quarterback. And so I think unless you have, or we have, a fact that they finally punted on George Pickens, we should really look at the fact of, did it fit for George Pickens? Does it fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And it's moving on in the best interest of both parties.
Yeah, look, I think he's going to play well. Again, the old carrot, he's in the last year of his deal. Whatever George Pickens has, we'll get out of him. They're going to want to run the ball. We know that with Shoddy. But my concern is the other side of the ball. You brought up Kenneth Murray, which was a great acquisition, but they struggled on defense. Matt Eberflus will be better, but I just think their window has closed, and I think there's a superstar in Washington in Jayden Daniels. You talked about how good Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia is. I think those two teams draw a line, and it's Dallas, and that's why I think at the end of the day, they're improved, but they're on the outside looking in.
Yeah, the division has gotten better. It will come down to the offensive line and the defensive line, right? If you can check those two boxes, then you can get into what George Pickens means to this offense, because to your point about being in Pittsburgh where he's the number one guy, you know this, RC, when you're playing in the NFL, going against the number one corner and going against the number two corner are completely two different experiences, right? So now George Pickens is going to get one-on-one coverage against the team's second best corner. He's going to have a big season. He's going to be a big threat down the field, which will make defenses respect both receivers deep on the outside, which probably does open up their run game, does open things up for Williams and Sanders and Dak Prescott to not feel like they're taking away my one option and I have nowhere else to go.
Yeah, you look at Dak too, though. He's coming off of a season where he's injured, right? He's and I talked to him this offseason as well. Like, this is a guy whose life has changed. He had his second baby. He finally, he and his wife are now married. Like, he's in a true grown man leadership role. And also, when these things start to happen, you start to realize I don't get to do this forever. And while I have an opportunity with two number one wide receivers, with, in my opinion, a top 5 pass catching tight end and a run game that should be improved, now having Brian Schottenheimer, who had to learn to win football games with only a run game as an offensive coordinator with the New York Jets, I think that this offense is going to be dynamic. I believe they'll be explosive. Now can Matt Eberflus get the right stops or the right amount of stops to keep you in football games?
It is a blessing and a curse to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, because everything you do goes under a microscope, and yet somehow we have forgotten how good Dak Prescott was when last seen. A year ago, he got hurt. The year before that, the 2023 season, Dak Prescott threw for 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and had a QBR, I'm scrolling, that was very high. I can't find it here.
Same thing.
I need a better
He was
book.
second in MVP voting.
He was an MVP caliber quarterback. Yes. They've added a high-flying wide receiver to that. They have maintained consistency with a new twist with their new coach in Brian Schottenheimer. I think people are sleeping on how good the Cowboys might be.
And they got a great guard in Tyler Booker. All that is great, but again, I always think, how do you win your division?
Yeah,
I just think
that's hard.
It's going to be very difficult. And then you think about the NFC North, and all of a sudden, like getting 7 teams in the playoffs in that conference, to me, that's where I think Dallas is going to struggle because are they as good as Green Bay? Are they as good as Minnesota? Are they as good as the second place team out west? I don't know, and that's where, to me, like they're improved, but on the outside looking in.
No, it's a very logical way of looking at it. You think about the Philadelphia Eagles, we know that they're stacked. Jayden Daniels going into his second year, the defense being improved, being more stout up front. I think it is going to be difficult for the Dallas Cowboys. I just believe they are a better team than we're giving them credit for, and I think there's going to be a ton of improvement.
His QBR was 72.7, by the way.
Somebody told you?
No, I found it on the phone. It just took me a little while.
That's better than Aaron Rodgers this time.
Well, it's infinitely better. I need Jack.
And he was
to
there for the
control my
offseason.
phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get some baseball in here for you. We have a new